Alright, hi, Frank Zanka here, and I just got back from Ready Player One. And I'm just going to tell you my score right up front, and how I felt about the movie. And feeling is really what this film is all about, I think. I love this film. I just got back and I'm feeling energized and I feel so excited. I really love this movie. Not because it's a thoughtful movie. There are certain films you go to see that incite thought and trying to figure things out and give you a basis of what life is about and things to that effect, and that's not what this film is about in any way, shape, or form. So I'm just going to give my score right off the bat. It's probably a 9, and I'm going to take a point off. It's not a perfect film, but it is a fun film. It is absolutely a fun film. So I recommend seeing it, and I'll go into the spoilers and stuff like that afterwards, as always. But it has a huge plot hole that had me scratching my head. But it's a Spielberg film, and it feels like a Spielberg film. The whole ending is like completely formulaic for Spielberg. But at the same token, I haven't seen stuff like that, his type of film, in a while. Jurassic Park, the last Jurassic Park had that kind of feeling, but it was more the feeling of like E.T. kind of thing, or some of the Indiana Jones films. Spielberg, I love his formula. I think his formula is great, and his shots and things like that, and the way he delves into a world like nobody else. Of course, I'm going to have to forgive him for Crystal Skull. Don't know where that came from. How do you make an Indiana Jones so awful? Well, him and Lucas were definitely able to do that. But I'm going to digress. So the plot line, and again, the plot line of Ready Player One is this big. So it's not even about plot for this film. And I did not read the book, though I have seen people talking about how the differences are of the book and the film. But I went in there with no expectations, no understanding of what the film was or what there was going to be. And I was just very pleasantly surprised. But the plot is that, and this is the same thing from the trailer, so I'm not giving anything away, that we're living in a dystopian type of future where everyone is not... There's a lot of poor people, basically. There's the rift between upper class and lower class as just streamlined. So there's just this huge gap. So people don't live in trailers anymore. They live in trailer parks that are built on top of one another, which means they don't even get to go anywhere. And I think that's kind of a commentary. I think the whole film is somewhat a commentary on what the world we're living in right now. But so there was this programmer that he created a virtual world, and it was everybody's escape, although people spend more time in that world than in the real world. And he left the Easter egg in there when he died so that somebody can discover it and basically take over, the company, and in that way he's making sure that his legacy is maintained, because it's somebody who loves video games enough, and not only video games, it was knowing about him. So it was a way for him to have people discover his life, and at the same time, commit his legacy to the future. So anyway, the cast, I thought the casting was perfect. perfect. I had no complaints about any of the casting. Ty Sheridan, I don't think he hasn't really done much prior to this. He played Cyclops in X-Men, but even in the new X-Men movies, Cyclops has this very, very tiny role. So so we haven't really seen much from him, but he was good in this. I think that I think they were trying to go with someone that wasn't a leading man for this. So his charisma was there, but he's not a leading man. I think they did that on purpose, so that he didn't steal the show from the rest of the cast. Olivia Cooke, if there was an actual star for the film, I would say it was her. Because she stalled the scenes for everything she was in. In fact, this is the second film this year that I've loved that with her in it. And the first one being Thoroughbreds. And if you haven't seen Thoroughbreds and you're a fan of Olivia Cooke, you should definitely take a look at that. I mean, I thought Olivia Cooke was great in Bates Motel. That's the first time I saw her. Obviously, she was acting prior to that, but that was the first time that I saw her was in that show. And now Thoroughbreds, and now this film. So she's going to take off as far as her acting career is concerned. T.J. Miller, he doesn't even need to be in the film. You don't need to ever see him to know his voice. So he was also in Big Five. He played the dragon guy, Big Hero 5, and he was also in Deadpool. He played the bartender. I actually had the privilege of meeting him when I did a convention down here in Hollywood called PopCon LA. Anyway, so all the cast was great, including the finale. They called one of the villains is actually called Finale because obviously she had the biggest role in the end. Very funny. And I was trying to find the guy's name. Sorrento. So Ben Middleston, the one who played in Rogue One. He plays a great villain. I can't say anything more about the guy. The guy plays a really good villain. And that's one thing about this film. The heroes are heroes. The villains are villains. And I think that works for this kind of film. I wish that we had a bigger kind of motivation for him. We never find out why he wants to succeed as badly as he does. I wish that little piece was thrown in to give just a little bit more backstory on him. We find out a little bit about him, but not enough to find out why he's so ambitious about winning this game. Simon Pegg makes a little bit of a cameo. And I'm not going to tell you all the 80s. I'm a child of the 80s, which is maybe why I love this film so much, is that there was just so much pop culture reference peppered in. And I'm not going to tell you all the stuff that's in there. I will in the spoilers, because I want you to try to pick out stuff. Of course, some of it is very glaring and some of it's kind of hidden. I know there's some stuff in there that I laughed at that nobody else did. But the film's going to do very well, because even at 4:40, that's why I just went to see it at 4:40 in the afternoon, and the theater was packed. I was shocked. I went in there. In fact, I went a half hour early, and there was like almost no seats. I was so surprised. So the film is going to do tremendously well, just based on what I saw today, and rightfully so. It has you, cheering by the end. I was very invested in the characters and their journey, which is great, and that's the way it should be when you go to a movie. Of course, people go to different movies for different reasons, but this is my kind of film, and this is why I go to the movies to maybe to use it kind of the same type of thing as the Oasis, which is the name of the program inside the movie. But I go for an escape, and I definitely felt like I got one with this film, so I definitely recommend seeing it. And now I'm going to pop into spoilers. Okay, so now we're into talking about spoilers for Ready Player One. I can't wait to have discussions about this, because there are so many references thrown in. It's like almost that you have to see it multiple times to even pick out certain things. So here's the stuff I saw that was great. Of course, King Kong was in it. Mechagodzilla. I haven't even heard Mechagodzilla since the late 70s, early 80s. That was great. Also, the vehicles they mentioned, of course, Millennium Falcon. You actually see the Serenity at the end. Gundam, that was great. Iron Giant. Obviously, when Spielberg went to go see these companies and said, "Hey, I want to use your property and I'll license it," they were probably like, "A Steven Spielberg film? Yeah, here you go." Because there's so many that he couldn't possibly. Of course, it's also a Warner Brothers film, so there's Batman stuff everywhere. Batman and Batgirl and Harley Quinn were in it. The bat symbol was just everywhere. I mean, I think I saw it at least 3 times. Mortal Kombat. So I forgot the guy with the 4 arms from Mortal Kombat, but he's in it. Alien. What else? The big thing that I laughed at that I don't think anybody else noticed was the Perseus's shield from the original Clash of the Titans. Just came out of like a debris thing. Of course, the video games themselves, like the Atari stuff back when, they were at the end they were playing Adventure, and when I saw that I was like, oh, I didn't remember the name of it, but I played that when I was a kid. That was considered a good video game back when. Of course, now it's crap now, but back then it was huge. So just all the pop culture references. I'm trying to do this video right after I see it because of the fact that I don't want to forget anything. Of course, having Tracer in there, you hear Tracer's teleport sound in the beginning, and then you actually see her at the end. And you know, I play. People who know me know I play Overwatch a lot, so it was great to see her in it. And I mean, I know I'm forgetting stuff all over the place, but of course, the Back to the Future car is majorly in it. I mean, it's a major focus, and of course, it's Spielberg, so I'm sure that was very easy for him to get. But they call him McFly at one time and stuff like that. Anyway, so now to the negative part. Here's the part I could not buy, and a huge plot hole for me. But I guess it was the only way to make this work. So when I play Overwatch, there are people from all over the United States, all over the world, right? I mean, I hear people speaking other languages and stuff like that. Nobody's down the street from me who's playing that game. So meanwhile, every single one of the people he meets that he plays with live down the street from him. He even says, oh, you mean we've been living this close this whole time? No way. No way ever would that happen. But it was the only way to make the film work. Obviously, if they were all over the place, it wouldn't make any sense. You know, they wouldn't be able to rescue people wouldn't get rescued in time, and it had to be that way. And the melding, that's one thing I got to say about how he made this work, because I was wondering how they were going to go from real world to the Oasis and back and forth. It had to make the real world even matter, and since most of the action takes place inside the Oasis. But he really did a great job of going back and forth and making it so we were just as tense in the real world as we were in the Oasis. And it kind of goes back. I mean, this movie borrows from everything, but who cares? So it's kind of like the Neo thing in Matrix, you know, where the real world is influencing, you know, what's going on in the Oasis. So as they're just as much trouble, you know, as they were in the Nebuchadnezzar, trying to escape, you know, with Neo still inside. So it was kind of that throwback to that. But that was my only real big problem. I'm sure there's more plot holes, but that's the one that was just glaring at me. You know, it was great to see the bad guy actually, you know, go to jail, or not go to jail, but at least get arrested, and finale punch him in the face at the end. So, I mean, the villain got his at the end. You know, although I would like to see what happened with IROC, which is T.J. Miller's character. He had some really great lines, you know, talking about his neck and stuff like that. But yeah, he played a great middle-end villain. He wasn't really a villain. He was just he was like a mercenary. But really, really great stuff. I'm sure I'm not talking about the other stuff that I should be talking about, but you know, there's more details. But again, this movie made me feel very excited when I left, and you know, I cared about the characters a lot. As far as you know, the real world stuff, I do like the fact that, you know, he was about to put the key in, and of course in Spielberg's kind of way, he's like, okay, we need one more thing, you know, to not make him succeed. And you know, of course, that was where they went back into the real world, and you know, the trucks were hitting each other and stuff to that effect, not throwing him off so he couldn't do it. And the Avatar had a great line, is like, do you want it or not? That's great. I was just so entertained by this film. But anyway, that's really all I have on it. I'd love to actually talk to someone that's actually seen the film and talk about the different iconic pop culture pieces that were in the film that I did not catch. But anyway, hope you guys enjoy it too. Leave your comments below, and if I'm completely off base, if you guys hate it, I'd like to know why. Alright, so signing off, and